Everyone, and welcome to AccuLeads. Today I'm going to go over how to clean a file to upload for any of our data services, our snapshot, our suppression, and data appends. However, please note that this is not a direct reference for email appends. It's fine for data appends, just not email appends. There's a little bit of a different process for email appends, which I'll make sure to point out, but just follow along. So we're going to go into customer file suppression just to kind of look over the general directions, gives you an overview, and then we're going to go next. This is where you would choose what database that you would like this file suppressed from, but we're just going to go with the consumer file, our compact consumer. And then this is where it gives you the directions on how you should prepare your file for upload. A few of the fields are combine multiple address fields into one. That is if you have an address 1 and an address 2 field, make sure to have them in one column rather than two. Remove duplicate records. We don't want some of the same records in the file. Remove blank fields. This is where it's a little different in the append process. You do not want to remove the blank fields on an email append file. We have a 4-pass email append, and it is passed through different levels as well. So there are different chances to where some of those blank cells would still be able to append to an accurate email address. So we just don't like to remove that. Check for hidden carriage returns and then confirm field lengths are within the accepted ranges. So I'm just going to go over my file that I have right here. Here are the columns: first, last address, address to, city, state, and zip. You can also note that you can either have a full name column or first and last name or a mix of both. You don't have to delete one or the other. You can just have one or the other. So the first thing I'm going to note is that I have the address to column, which we cannot have. So I'm going to insert some columns right there. And an easy way to combine these would be to use the concatenate equation in Excel. So we're going to go ahead and do that. And then you're going to select the first cell, comma, quotation mark, put a space, quotation, comma, second cell. And then you click enter. And then from there, you're going to double click the square at the bottom. And then that is going to fill up to the bottom. And as you can see, these were previously in 2 separate columns, and now with the concatenation equation, it brought them into one. Also see that here. And then see it goes all the way to the bottom of the file. And so we're just going to take this and copy. The reason we can't just delete these files is because the equation is based on those 2 columns. So we're just going to copy and paste and then delete these columns, rename this one, and then there we go. So from here, we're going to make sure that each column is within the requested length. So with this, we're going to do text to columns. So the name fields are 40 up to 40 characters. We shouldn't have an issue on this file with the names because they're all John. So we're just going to do that just in case. And then as you can see, I click on this column and there are no characters within this field. So I'm going to delete that. Do the same for this column, fixed width 40. And then if it is a full name and you still have to do 40, it's not like it's 40 for each first and last name. If you have the full name column, it also has to be within 40. Address has to be 50. So we're going to do that. If it shows up here, just move the arrows to 50. If not, it'll separate those. And then just make sure there's no extra characters in this column. If so, you just delete it. Fort Myers, the city is going to be 30. So same process there. No characters there, delete that. The state, this is only 2 letters. So I can already see that we're gonna have an issue with the column header. And I can see 1 down here is gonna be an issue. So I'll show you what that's gonna look like. Fixed with next, you're going to bring it all the way to 2. And so it shows those past there. Let me show you what happens. So it brings those extra characters in this column. And as you can tell, we have 10 cells that are filled with these extra characters. So we're going to add the filter and then see what columns have that. So just to make sure these still line up. So there's a few cells that had the full Florida. This works out fine because the FL is the abbreviation. However, if we had Arizona, it would concatenate like that. And this would not exactly work because AR is not the correct abbreviation for Arizona. That would be Arkansas. So that would be when we would have to fix that. And then, oops, we'd have to fix that and then pull this down to however many have that. But because it's Florida, it would be fine initially. And then you would just delete this column. And then we have the zip code column. For the zip codes, we're going to format them as well with special zip code. We do that in case there are any zip codes with leading zeros. If we didn't format it, it would cut the 0 out and it would not be recognized as a zip code. So we just make sure to format it. And then we're going to do the text to columns. This is supposed to be 5. And then let's see, it looks like we have some cells that have a little bit longer, and we're just going to delete those because we do not need those. And so now all of the columns are the appropriate length. And from here, we're going to see if we have any blank cells. We do this by adding the filter to these columns and organizing them alphabetically to see if we have any empty columns. And so when I do A to Z, it doesn't look empty, but you will also have to do Z to A to make sure it's not empty in case something is missed. So that column is okay. Let's check the last name. Doesn't look like there's anything empty. Let's check out this one. Looks good. This one. So it looks like there are a few empty cells here. For a suppression file, we are not able to match a record because it is missing a cell. So we're just going to delete that. Unless you are able to somehow find the address for that, you would have to delete it. That would not work for a suppression file, and it would go into delay if you had empty cells. So let's see, or let me change that to A to Z just to make sure that we don't have any more empty, and it doesn't look like it. So let's check our city column. That looks good. Let's check the state column. Or sorry, let me do Z to A here just to double check. Looks good. Okay. So A to Z here. Looks like we have a few empty columns. And so even though we have the address there, if it's a few records and you know what state it's in, it really wouldn't take much to add the state. However, if there's a bunch of them, you can go ahead and delete them. You shouldn't have to waste so much time on having to look up each individual address unless you really, really want to. But we just delete them. And then let's make sure the zip code, let me just do Z to A, just to make sure. And then let's check the zip code. C to A just as a precaution. Okay, perfect. So from here, we can take this filter off. But from here is where we would check for special characters and to get rid of them. So as you could tell, you probably saw there was a few records that had special characters. I know we had one in here. So we have the tilde right there. We have a few other records that have a star or an asterisk in it. Let me see here. And so this is when the we have a macro set up, and you can also set it up. That comes in handy, and it deletes all of those little special characters. So note that those are right there. And then we just turn on the filter and it gets rid of them. Another way to detect those special characters is to copy all of your data right here. Copy and open it in this app called Notepad++, paste it. We highly suggest getting this in case there are special characters that that Excel cannot find. We highly suggest downloading this one. And then highlight all the data here. You would go to search, find characters in range, keep it non-ASCII, and then if it found any, it would show up there, but we don't have any. So that is completely fine. And so it looks like our file is ready to be uploaded into AccuLeads. So just make note of how many characters are in each file when you upload it. You can save it. You could save as like a file that is ready to be uploaded. You could save the OG file as OG and then save this one as upload in case you want to keep the original file versus the uploaded one. And yeah, from there, you would go ahead and upload the consumer file. We do have a video on how to do that, so make sure to check that out if you're unsure how to upload and follow through with a suppression file.